The morning light filtered weakly through the thin curtains, painting her small apartment in faded gold. Sarah sat silently at her dressing table, a gentle smile trembling on her lips as she brushed her hair. Her eyes were tired, too many sleepless nights, but there was a soft spark of hope that refused to die. On the table lay a wedding invitation, the gold edges worn from how many times she had touched it. Beside it sat a small box, wrapped neatly with a silver ribbon, a gift she had chosen with trembling hands. "Maybe," she whispered to her reflection, "maybe he'll smile when he sees me." Her voice cracked on the last word. She looked into her own eyes in the mirror, trying to convince herself that everything would be okay. She picked up the gift and held it close to her chest. Inside was a silver bracelet engraved with 2 letters, A and S, "For you, bye," she murmured softly, a single tear falling onto the ribbon, just like old times. The room was silent except for the ticking of the clock, every second reminding her that the moment was getting closer, the day her brother would become someone else's forever. Her gaze drifted to a photo on the wall, 2 children laughing, covered in cake frosting. Her thumb gently brushed over her brother's face in the frame. "You promised," she whispered, "you promised you'd never leave me behind." But promises, she had learned, were fragile things, beautiful until they broke. The phone on her table buzzed. She snatched it up, hoping, just for a moment, it might be him. But it was only a reminder, wedding today, 12 p.m. Her lips curved into a sad smile. "I know," she whispered to herself, wiping her tears. Slowly, she stood, took one last look around the empty room, and slipped the invitation into her purse. Before stepping out, she paused at the door, closing her eyes. "No matter what happened between us, I'll still go. I'll still be there to wish you happiness." As she walked down the narrow staircase, the faint sound of wedding music floated from somewhere in the distance. Her footsteps echoed softly, carrying both her courage and her heartbreak. She didn't know what waited for her at the end of that road, but in her heart, she still believed that maybe, just maybe, love between siblings could find its way home again. The next morning, sunlight gently crept through the curtains of Sarah's apartment, spilling warmth across the room. The rain had stopped, leaving the city washed and silent, like the world itself had taken a deep breath after a long cry. Sarah sat by the window, wrapped in a light shawl, holding a cup of tea between her hands. Her eyes were swollen from the night before, yet there was something new in them, calm, steady peace. The kind that doesn't erase pain, but accepts it. On the table beside her lay the wedding gift she never gave, the little silver bracelet, still shining under the morning light. She smiled faintly at it, her tears replaced now with quiet understanding. "Maybe," she whispered, "some gifts are meant to stay unopened, and some goodbyes are meant to stay unspoken." Her phone buzzed softly again, a new message. It was from her brother. "We missed you yesterday. I wanted to call, but I didn't know how to face you. Please forgive me." She read it slowly, her lips parting into a bittersweet smile. She didn't reply right away. Instead, she closed her eyes and whispered into the still air, "I already did." The camera moved slowly across the room, the same room that once felt empty, now filled with quiet courage. The clock ticks. The sunlight grows stronger. She sets the phone down, picks up a small notebook, and begins to write, her hand steady, her heart light. The words she writes are simple. Sometimes, love changes shape. It doesn't disappear, it just learns to stand at a distance and smile. She looks out the window, watching children play on the street, their laughter echoing up to her. For the first time in a long while, she smiles, truly smiles, not because everything is perfect, but because she has finally made peace with what isn't. They canceled her invitation, but they could never cancel her love. Because real family isn't about being seen, it's about still caring, even when no one's watching. The rain fell harder now, washing the colors of the world into shades of gray. Sarah walked without an umbrella, her dress clinging to her skin, her hair soaked, but she didn't care. The streets were almost empty, only the echo of her footsteps kept her company. She reached a small bench near the park, the same place where she and her brother used to sit every Sunday after school. They would share ice cream, laugh about everything, and talk about dreams that once felt too big for them. Now, sitting there alone, those memories hurt more than the rain ever could. Her fingers brushed the bracelet still in her bag, the silver one engraved with A and S. She pulled it out slowly, her vision blurred by tears. The letters glistened faintly under the streetlight, a reminder of a bond that once meant forever. "You promised me, bye," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You said we'd never drift apart." She smiled weakly through her tears. "But maybe that's what growing up really means, learning that even promises can fade." Lightning flashed across the sky, and for a moment, she saw her reflection in a puddle, her face pale, her eyes red, her soul tired. "Why wasn't I enough?" she whispered to herself, barely breathing the words. "Why did I become the stranger at my own brother's wedding?" The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A message. Her heart skipped. It was from him. It read, "I'm sorry." Just 2 words. No explanations. No excuses. But somehow, that was enough to break her completely. She pressed the phone to her chest and let herself cry, not out of anger anymore, but out of release. The kind of crying that comes when your heart finally lets go of everything it held too tightly. Through her tears, she typed back. "Congratulations, bye. I'm proud of you. I hope she makes you happy." She stared at the message for a long second before pressing send. Then she smiled faintly, the kind of smile that comes from peace, not pain. As the rain softened, the world around her began to blur into quiet stillness. She looked up at the dark sky and took a deep breath. Voiceover, soft, reflective. Sometimes, love means stepping back. Sometimes, family means forgiving the ones who forgot you. And sometimes, peace comes when you stop waiting to be invited, and start learning to live again. She stood slowly, placed the bracelet gently on the bench, and walked away, her silhouette fading into the silver mist of rain. In the end, she didn't need an invitation to love him, because real love never asks to be let in, it just stays, quietly, even from afar. My brother's wedding. But they cancelled my invite. Broken heart. A heart-touching story about forgiveness and family. The city was alive with celebration. Strings of lights shimmered across the grand wedding hall, and laughter floated through the air. Guests in bright clothes moved around with joy, their smiles full of warmth that did not reach her. Sarah stood across the street for a long moment, clutching her small purse against her chest, watching as people entered through the flower-decorated gate. For a second, she almost turned back. But then she looked down at the gift in her hand, "For my brother," and whispered to herself, "You've come this far, don't stop now." As she approached the entrance, her heart raced faster. Every step felt heavier, like walking through memories that didn't want to let her go. She could see him in the distance, her brother, smiling, surrounded by friends, laughter, and the woman who now stood beside him in a bridal veil. For a brief, beautiful second, her heart softened. He looks happy, she thought, really happy. At the door, a young event planner smiled politely. "Invitation, please," he asked. Sarah handed it to him with trembling hands. "I'm his sister," she said with a small, proud smile. The planner checked the list. His smile faded. His eyes darted nervously between the paper and her face. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said hesitantly. "Your name isn't on the list." Sarah blinked, confused. "That can't be right. I'm the groom's sister." "Check again, please." He checked once more, slower this time, then looked down, avoiding her eyes. "I'm really sorry. It's an order from the groom's family. You're not invited." Her fingers tightened around the invitation card, crushing its edges. Not invited, she repeated softly, her voice trembling. But this card, he sent it to me himself. The planner sighed helplessly. Ma'am, please, I don't want to cause a scene. For a moment, the world went silent. The laughter, the music, the joy, all faded into a dull hum. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. She could feel her eyes burning, but she refused to let the tears fall, not here, not in front of strangers. She stepped aside slowly, staring at the golden doors that led into a place she no longer belonged. Through the open doorway, she saw her brother glance toward her, just for a second. Their eyes met. His smile faltered, guilt flickered in his eyes, and then, he looked away. That was all it took. The tears she'd been holding back finally slipped free. Sarah turned away, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor. The gift box slipped from her hand and landed beside the entrance with a dull thud. She didn't pick it up. She just kept walking, one step at a time, until the music behind her was nothing more than a memory. Outside, the first raindrop touched her cheek. Then another. And soon, the sky cried for her. As she walked into the rain, her voice echoed softly in the air, a whisper only the wind could hear. Congratulations, bye. I hope you find the happiness I wasn't invited to share.